Hello, everybody. JT Viper here. Still coming off of, I don't know if it's laryngitis or a chest infection or something. It's been some ugly mornings. Well, I guess early afternoons when I do wake up. And I wanted to cover this last night, but my throat still wasn't quite up to it. I think I'm good today. And then after I'm done this, I'll be popping off to rest my voice a bit more. I will try to hit the mute button before I cough or have to do too much clearing of my throat through the stream. But I wanted to bring to you a topic that hits a little close to home on my end of things, and that I find a little bit on the reprehensible side of the spectrum, if you will. You see, The Guardian, not known for their self-awareness or their internal logical consistency, has put out an article by Pamela Stevenson Connolly as of, this is Monday, May 22nd of 2017, titled, and I'll switch over here. There we go. My wife's affair has left me feeling less sexually attracted to her, with the byline, it was a short and sexless relationship, but since finding out about it, I no longer fancy her in the same way. So let's see. Boons. Welcome to the chat, bud. Let's just see where this goes. If it's easy enough to see, let me know. I just want to make sure that it's not the full. Yeah, so I should be able to see it here. I'm looking at the full screen on my side. So, my wife and I are trying to put our life back together after she had a short, albeit thankfully sexless affair. We were working our way through the issues with a counselor, but I am struggling with sexual attraction. Until the discovery, I had found my wife more beautiful every day, but I no longer fancy her in the same way. Will this pass? Our resident expert here, Miss or Mrs. Pamela Stevenson Connolly, says the discovery of your wife's other relationship has destroyed not only your positive sense of coupledom with her, but also your somewhat idealized notion of her. The therapeutic work you are doing is essential to coming to terms with this loss, and also to moving forward into a realistic view of who she really is, and understanding your own response. So let's just try to break that first bit down here. The discovery of your wife's other relationship. I don't feel inclined to validate an affair as a separate quote-unquote relationship. You have a relationship, you're married to somebody. If you are not in agreement, and no, Boons, unfortunately, I removed a lot of the spam. Wanted to take a little bit of it out of the space, if you will. Because when I do my charity stuff, I don't want it to have a lot of that same stuff in there, just because I feel it might be a liability down the road. Anyway, the discovery of your wife's other relationship. First off, no. An affair is an affair. A relationship is something that's agreed upon, entered in by two or more people, fully knowledgeable, and involves a certain degree of commitment to it and honesty. I refuse to believe that you can have a separate quote-unquote relationship. You can have an affair. I title that differently. You can have an affair. You do not have another relationship going. In the strictest of terms, I suppose, we're going to get down to the definitions of it. A relationship is just, interactions ongoing between two people or some such I should say nonsense, but some such definition. But for this context, I don't quite see relationship here being the right term. Has destroyed not only your positive sense of coupledom with her, fair enough, but also your somewhat idealized notion of her. I don't think it should be an idealistic notion that somebody is not going to betray your trust, your intimate relationship. In this case, a fucking marriage. Which I do believe in part of most vows is forsaking all others. I don't, and that's what I was saying there. Yes, how it would react if it was reversed, and I'll be checking to that in a second here because I do have, since my husband's affair, I'm afraid he will reject me sexually. That's Another article written by the same Pamela Stevenson Connolly, which we'll be examining in a second here to see how she broaches this topic when it's flipped around a bit. Any case, somewhat idealized notion of her. If you're going to marry somebody, I don't think it should be claimed as idealistic that they not go pursuing relationships, sexless or otherwise, with other people. Unless that's agreed upon between you and your, wife or husband. Call me old-fashioned, but I don't think that should be happening. Now, full disclosure, guilty of my own indiscretions in the past, I recognize that. And I recognize that kind of stuff was wrong and how hurtful that can be to really every party involved. It can be a bit of a mutually assured destruction sort of deal. It's an ugly thing. It has no place in a mature relationship. Let's just say that. In any case, with this, moving forward into a realistic view of who she really is, apparently somebody seeking relationships with other people, and understanding your own response, which has not been to be like, excuse me, I meant my part of our wedding vows. Apparently you couldn't care less. Get the fuck out. Henry, how's it going? Seen that there? If you fucking someone else and they agreed to 3 minute burst in the relationship, don't do it. To be clear, this isn't a case. At least they're saying it's not a case of, oh, I've fucked the chat up good now. Or have I? Doesn't look like I have. Not entirely. I'm gonna have to fix this because I done goofed slightly. I'm gonna have to let's just slide this. Damn it! You can watch how I do my evenings out here. Oh shit. Oh fuck. Well, folks, we're only a few minutes in, and I've already completely buggered it. Who would have thought? Let's see. Where's my snack? Okay. I think I've salvaged some level of acceptability here. All right. But yes, this is apparently a sexless relationship. I have, however, also been on the receiving end of some indiscretions committed by a long-term partner. And yeah, I can tell you that this whole no longer fancying the person the same way, it's a very real thing. Abort. Boons, I haven't aborted you yet. I'm not going to abort this stream. But I'll cover my own experience because it's the end of this article that really drew me back to it and really pissed me off. You may even say I was triggered, but let's move on here. I do not suggest that this will be an easy process, and I can tell you from experience it's not. And you are already experiencing the longing and pain that accompanies such drastic and sudden shifts in a person's conceptualization of his love. Put there in a little bit more of a human context, you're experiencing a great deal of pain because somebody knowingly and willingly betrayed you, your trust, and your relationship. So, again, this writer, Miss or Mrs. Pamela Stevenson Connolly, puts this in a very wishy-washy sort of lull you into a false sense of everything's going to be okay, when really you've just had your trust and commitment betrayed. In any case, but that pain usually leads to growth and important discoveries. Yes, like the growth to the point where you should be able to say, I don't think I want to be with somebody who's pursuing other relationships beyond our own. True intimacy involves seeing your partner for who she truly is. In a way. But this phrasing seems to go about it in a very, well, you just have to understand that she wants to seek relationships outside of your own and understand that if you want to truly be intimate with her. Well, I would say in that case, pal, might want to get an intimate understanding of how doors work and utilize one and leave. True intimacy. So perhaps a less idealistic view. Oh my god. I'm sorry, just 1 second here. Again, I apologize for dying. So perhaps a less idealistic view of her will improve things between you. No. It is not your job as somebody who has had their commitment dishonored, who've had their faith in another person shaken or shattered, to just forgive that and move on and accept it. Because although it may say in many people's marriage vows, till death do us part, there's also a part in there, as I mentioned, about forsaking all others. And if the person is going to forsake you for another, then I think that gives you more than enough reason to boot them out on their ass. And that comes to Boone's question, what if he owns the door? Then he should be capable of opening it for the lady and booting her out. Anyway, allow yourself to be vulnerable in her presence, so show weakness to her. That sounds like a good idea to somebody who's already tried to go outside of your marriage once. And try to express your true feelings, no matter how difficult it is. It would not be that difficult. And it was not that difficult for me to express my true feelings when I found out what had happened in my context. And I would hope it would not be too bad for this guy. Basically, it is, you're a bitch, and you deserve to feel like shit right now. It is also important to recognize your role. This is the part where it gets me. Just rate the last fucking thing, right? Second last statement. It is also important to recognize your role in helping to create a fragile entente in the first place. It's important to understand that you are partially guilty for your wife deciding to forsake her wedding vows and, go elsewhere. That's your fault. No, it's not. I'm sorry. Unless you are some abusive, monster of a human being, all right, it's not your fault if somebody else decides that they are going to go outside of the marriage. It's not your fault. I don't know who this gentleman is. I wish I could say this to him, but it is not your fault. Somebody else over whom you have no realistic control made a decision to do something that they had no reason to doubt would quite significantly damage your relationship with them, especially your marriage with them. Be kind to both of you. Do the work and learn. I agree with her on this part here. Do the work and learn. And yeah, so guilty because you got cheated on. Looks like I need but more doors to show the other author out. Yes. This one doesn't sit so well with me. You see, this goes back to, I think, 2011. Yeah, it's 2011. Right at Christmas time, my ex had a serious problem, very, very serious insecurity issues that I felt fine adjusting for. She didn't like me going out by myself. She preferred to come along to group engagements where, whether or not she had been initially invited or not, I'd make room for her. And I enjoyed her company. I had no problem with that. Most people had no problem with her being there. So that never really caused an issue unto itself. But she did have a problem, even with me just going out with my male friends. She did not like the concept of a guy's night, whether or not alcohol was to be involved at all. And I must say, looking back, I should have seen it earlier. But in any case, she had this group of friends whom I didn't really approve of, but I accepted the fact that it wasn't my position to have to necessarily approve of her friends if I didn't want to hang out with them. That was fairly simple. I didn't like the sort of atmosphere that these people cultivated around them, especially when they hosted events and parties and whatnot. However, I had enough faith in my then girlfriend to say, no, you know what? If you want to go to this Christmas party, by all means, go have fun. Hang out with your friends, and I'll be here in the evening. I had to work that night, or at least in the evening. So I headed out, said see you later, and get back. I get home and I get a call later that evening, And, oh, I definitely sense the sarcasm there, Henry. I get back late in the evening, and I get a phone call like into like the 1:32 a.m. And she's crying. She's been drinking, and she's asked if someone can come get her. And so, I didn't drive at the time, still don't. And I let her, her dad knows living with the family at the time. And I let her down, like, hey, can you go get her? She just called me crying from a party. Apparently, her best friend's also not feeling that great. Can they come back here? And he, pissed off at the fact that she'd gotten drunk at this party, went out to get her. And it wasn't until the next morning when everything kind of started to came out in the wash. She came down that morning going on and on about how her best friend's boyfriend had just given her a promise ring, and how she wanted one. And I was like, you know what, look, so this whole promise ring thing is stupid. It's infantile, it's childish. If I'm going to get you a ring, there's going to be like two. There are going to be two rings that I will get a woman in my lifetime. Unless I miss like a 50-year anniversary, which at this point, like, if I'd have to get married by 30 and then live to 80, and let's just it'd have to last that long. Let's be fair, that ain't happening. I'd only be buying. This is back before I'd kind of taken my stance that I have now against the contract of marriage as it exists in Canada. But anyway, not the point. Not the topic of this stream. No. She had this issue with the promise ring, and I was like, no. I said, only rings I'll be getting a woman are an engagement ring and a wedding ring, and that's it. That is 1 and 2. That's all you should need. If you don't like that, let me know, and we can work on that. We can address this issue, and either you can come to understand that I'm not getting you a promise ring. I'm not going to do it. Right? Or we can go our separate ways if it's that big of an issue to you, but that was mine. It's a stopping point for me. And the guilt trips, and my friends are all getting them, and all this standard shit. And I'm like 2 years and a smidge, maybe 2 1/4, older than her. What about an earring? Boons. And so I was at that point where I'm going, I know this is all going to happen. I kind of predicted this discussion would happen at some point. I'd preempted this in my head, and I was like, look, if a promise ring is what it's going to take to stay in this relationship ain't worth that much. That's it. So I was like, that's going to have to be your choice. I'm sorry. And so she gets all angry and storms back upstairs, and she's crying, and she's just bawling, and I'm like, well, this will fucking be over, This will end in the next 30, 45 minutes, because I'm used to the trend at this point. Guys, bit of advice: if she hasn't stopped crying within 45 minutes, you might have actually done something, or she's gotten really good at perpetuating the tears. One of the two. In any case, I roll back over, I had to deal with her that the night before, being drunk and hungover as hell. So I'm not really up to waking up at that point. I roll back over for another nap. But before I can really get into my snooze, hit the snooze alarm, her and her mother come downstairs. Again, I had mentioned I was living with them at the time. And her mom's basically dragging her downstairs to my room. She is in hysterics. My girlfriend at the time, not the mother. The mother is angry. She has gone full mama bear, and I am terrified. Until I find out that she's angry on my account, not in support of her daughter. That was a bit of an interesting switch. Nope, the would-have-been mother-in-law was very, very upset because of what her best friend, or my girlfriend's best friend, I should say, had told my then-girlfriend's mother about what had happened the night before. Turns out that the night before, after a couple of drinks, that my then-girlfriend and one of the male party-goers had gotten a little friendly under the mistletoe. And this was all that anyone was really going to tell me about it, which rather upset me. I actually wound up running into the guy later on, and I had no issues with the guy because he didn't know me. And I had no way of knowing whether or not he knew she was dating somebody, what position she put forward during the night. But I had no real huge issue with the guy, and because I have this standard that I'll explain in a second. But oh, did I ever have a problem with her? And it cut for a few reasons. Because, first off, I was apparently not the one that could be trusted. I was the one that could not be permitted to go out without supervision. I was the one who was always subject to speculation and accusations or suspicion. I was the one who had to make accommodations for her insecurities, and she was the one that turned around and betrayed my trust. Now, we eventually did work through that to an extent, but it did involve a good period of time where I wanted nothing to do with her. Didn't speak to her for the good few first days. We had the initial fight it out after her mother brought her down and basically said, either you can tell him or I'll tell him. The then girlfriend starts going into hysterics and screaming and crying and asking her not to. And I'm like, well, the cat's out of the fucking bag now. Like, somebody better tell me something. And so her mom's like, fine, and then unloads on it. And I'm like, okay. I was like, yeah, can you leave us for a minute? Like, can you just we need to have a little chat here. And so got out a lot of the I'm the one that can't be trusted. I just went to town verbally. I never once, despite her trying to smack me once, never once raised a hand to her. Any case, after that, didn't talk to her for a few days, and there was definitely no physical contact of any sort, like hand holding, sitting, curl up on a couch kind of thing. Nothing. Like, I could not bear to be in physical contact with her because I was that hurt. And I was just like, no, I don't feel comfortable, with that level of closeness after what you've done, because I understand that this is all at this point just to comfort you. I am doing, I'm fine doing this my own way with the whole how I want to heal from this, how I want to take my time and advance with this going forward. I'm not here to comfort you. You are not the one, all right, who was betrayed in this sense. You are not the one owed some greater degree of comforting and compassion. Okay? You don't get to cut somebody and then claim you're the one bleeding. It doesn't work that way. You can be upset over what you did. That's fine. But that's for you to figure out with yourself. That is for you to address as an internal struggle. And so in any case, even after the whole general physical contact and minor affection came back, the interest in any sort of intimate relationship did not for a significant amount of time. More than a few weeks, less than 2 or 3 months. I think around 2 months. And whereas to that point, things had been, let's just say, very healthy. And eventually at one point, her mother came and spoke to me and was like, look, she's getting extremely bitchy with everybody at this point, like her father and I, we know that you guys do things. We get it. We know that this has stopped. We're not dumb. You guys need to work on something or she's going to drive everyone crazy. And that was probably one of the most humorous and very, very awkward conversations I've ever had. But I chuckled and I was like, well, I'm sorry. This is going to go on as long as it takes for me to feel comfortable. And I had to explain how I felt. And her mom was understanding. I think that whole mother bear defending her kid thing started to come back of like, okay, well now I think you're just punishing her. And I'm like, somewhat, yeah. There was a part of me that just wanted her to hurt because I had been hurt. But there's a much larger part of me that just was not comfortable. And I explained that part and she seemed to take that fairly well. She couldn't handle without it, Boone. She couldn't handle without it. And so, in any case, this is why this part of the article bothers me so much. It's important to recognize your role, because this woman has no reason to believe this man contributed in any tangible way to his wife seeking an affair. I made every concession I could for my then girlfriend. I, made concessions that she requested of me and gave concessions that I didn't like, but that I felt would be a show of good faith. That if I say, I can trust you to go to a function, I expect some of the same consideration in return. I thought that might develop a greater deal of trust, on the pretense that nobody did anything to completely undermine that trust. And so that became quite an issue. But in any case, I've seen it where, yes, there have been partners on both sides who've driven the other partner out of the relationship. I entirely agree. Absolutely. I don't think this is one of them. I don't have enough information to make a judgment, to be honest, but I'm not getting this from him, right? I get this whole more beautiful every day thing. I feel like he's kind of realizes if it gets published in the Guardian, he might want to look sympathetic. I want to look like the good husband, but some guys, I've been there, man. I've been there. You love somebody more for all the time you spend with them. But in any case, this article really rubbed me the wrong way. Apparently, Pamela Stevenson Connolly is a psychotherapist who specializes in treating sexual disorders. And if you would like advice from Pamela Stevenson Connolly on sexual matters, send us a brief description of your concerns to private.lives@theguardian.com. Please don't send attachments. So if I have any female viewers watching this, first, and second, never let me do that again. Second, could you write her an email and just see if you get a response back? Like, write it as close to the female representation of what this guy seems to have gone through, and see what comes back. I'm not convinced of my own writing ability to create a fake email account and a fake female identity to try and do this. But if one of you out there has the inkling, could you get on that? Help me out here. Send me how that comes back. In any case, excuse me, let's go on to the comparison article as close as I could get. Again, it is Pamela Stevenson Connolly. Get rid of these fucking advertisements. Since my husband's affair, I'm afraid he will reject me sexually. We are rebuilding our relationship, but neither of us feel free to initiate. My husband was the first man I felt I could let myself go with sexually. Yet, over the years, we grew apart, took each other for granted, and he had an affair. We are rebuilding our relationship, but we show our wounds when it comes to sex. We are both often afraid to initiate, and I fear rejection. Point 1. Odds are, unless you have done something, particularly egregious, most guys aren't going to turn it down. I think one of the main complaints is that, rolling on through society, is that married men over time don't feel their wives initiate that much and wish they would. The old trope of, honey, I have a headache. The what women want, Advil, so gentle, you can take it even when you need to fake a headache. That old chestnut might carry a grain of truth, but in any case, fearing rejection is natural, especially when one has experienced pain from a partner's disloyal behavior. It takes time to rebuild trust, and our sexual responses are firmly related to our sense of safety. This here, well described. As I've mentioned before, this is where I was at when my then girlfriend had an interaction with another fellow that I felt was particularly egregious and in violation of our relationship. Yeah, it took time to rebuild trust, and it was a sense of trust and closeness that I had to decide if I was worth working to regain. It is never easy to be relaxed, open, and connected with someone who has hurt you, and trying to overcome that reticence before healing has fully occurred is counterintuitive. Yes, it is. This is why I took the time, and I encourage anyone else to do the same. But aside from an understandable reaction to betrayal, you also suggest that before your marriage you were unable to let go sexually. This may point to issues that predate your relationship. Unless a person gleans an understanding of how early a relationship impact their long-term ability to feel sexually safe and achieves any necessary healing, they will not be able to progress to emotional stability in adult sexual relationships. Physical sexual health is not enough to sustain long-term intimacy. This is very, very true. It's a key portion, but it's not enough on its own. Without a decent level of emotional and psychological health, people will always feel fragile and insecure within the context of adult sexuality, and such vulnerability often leads to misery and can eventually destroy a marriage. This is the old you cannot truly love until you learn to love yourself. Doesn't mean you can't be loved, it just means that you can't truly learn to love another until you can love who you are to some basic extent. And I get some people say that's discriminatory to those with depression. But a lot of people with depression don't suffer from an issue of not having self-love. They suffer from an issue of apathy, of indifference to their overall situation in life. They may have no issues with themselves. It's not a self-esteem problem necessarily, but rather an issue with their station in life, what they feel they're getting from life. But you'll see here, the only safety required is a trusty condom and liberal application of spermicide. There you go, Henry. There you go, buddy. But the way she approaches this with the woman's previous potential issues, you suggest that before your marriage you were unable to let go sexually. This may point to issues that predate your relationship. It mentions that this woman might have some core damages, but doesn't say, this is your fault. It's the whole, your lack of comfort in initiating sexual intercourse or sexual intimacy may stem from issues that you have possessed coming into this, but doesn't say, these issues are your fault. It just says, you haven't got the healing you've needed yet. That was the impact of long-term ability to be sexually safe and achieves any necessary healing. You just haven't healed yet. Is distinctly different from, it's also important to recognize your role in helping to create a fragile entente in the first place. No expansion upon it. No expansion. Just remember the fact that it's also partially your fault that your wife went to have an affair on you. Oh, but you just haven't healed enough. That's all. You've been hurt or damaged in the past, and you just haven't healed enough. Remember that it's your fault. You haven't healed enough. Remember that it's partially your fault. Carl has uploaded. This is good things. I will get to that in a moment. However, one more look at how, and I thought this one might be important because it's how she looks at a person who is saying, I'm the person who stepped outside of a relationship. My boyfriend and I don't have sex, so I turned to another woman. I've lost interest in the physical side of things with my partner of 6 years, but recently had drunken sex with a good female friend and loved every minute of it. Oh, did you now? I'm a woman in her late 20s, and I have been in a stable relationship with my boyfriend for around 6 years. I love him dearly, but our sex life is dwindling. I avoid sex and make excuses. Recently, completely out of the blue. So, first off, I avoid sex and make excuses, which says to me, I am not going to be an adult about this. I am not going to approach this issue with my boyfriend. I am not going to engage in this discussion here. I'm not going to be the one that starts a dialogue, even though I am the one making excuses for this. Even though I am the one who is avoiding sexual intimacy, I am not going to reach out and explain why to my significant other. I'm going to make excuses and ultimately go outside of the relationship. Well, we'll see how Pamela Stevenson Connolly takes this. Recently, completely out of the blue, which I somehow doubt, I had sex with a good female friend. We were both really drunk and are both straight. I Let's just say we'll call you bi-curious because yeah, there's been a lot of indications that women's sexuality is much more fluid than men's, much more, shall we say, elastic, much more subject to change. Honey, I don't think you're entirely straight. Just a prediction. I know I can't tell you what you are, but I've got a hunch. But it was the most sexual I have been in months, and I loved every second of it. What does this mean? Well, back to this part. I think you're both not 100% on that, and I think it means you had an affair. Frankly, this should read, I turn my boyfriend away for sex and prefer to have affairs. That should be your title. It's what I'm getting from here. Right, I've lost interest in sex with my boyfriend. I make excuses to stay in a relationship and not end it, and I just prefer to have affairs with other women. JT is a SUOER fag. I'm so confused. Also, Snooki is drunk with a Reuben. Well, that's a good start. I thought it was a RUBEN, like Dave Rubin, and I was like, oh my god, you're hanging with Dave and you're hammered. Have fun. Just watch the asshole because you never know. JT's a super fag. There we go. That's better. That's the Tanuki I know. In any case, it simply means that you were drawn to, or perhaps needed, the erotic inspiration of something taboo. Heightened sexual experiences are often achieved when people enter what they consider to be forbidden realms. Classic examples would be having sex with an inappropriate partner, engaging in risky or taboo sexual practices, or experimenting with partners of a different gender. Just to sideline this one, just to take an aside here for a second. Classic examples, an inappropriate partner. That's the whole, I think, student teacher or boss employee or that kind of thing. Engaging in risky or taboo sexual practices, public sex, different variations like that, or experimenting with partners of different gender. This lumps in what this woman has done, which has been engage in an affair. Let's be fair here. She has cheated on her boyfriend of 6 years, and she's looking for approval essentially on this. So there's that. Classic. So I just don't think it's appropriate entirely or accurate. Let's say that I don't think it's accurate to compare what's gone on here. Of course, stock images. I'm not saying these are them, but let's say that this is them. What's gone on here is not what is being referenced to here, and it's a little bit of a shell game. They're kind of just trying to blur the lines around it, swap it all around until you don't really see where the lines are anymore. And I don't think that's entirely responsible, Miss Pamela Stevenson Connolly. I can understand if this experience served to underscore the lack of excitement in your relationship with your boyfriend. However, it is not something that necessarily threatens your primary relationship. You have had sex with somebody outside of your primary relationship of 6 years. But, no, it's not a threat to your relationship, unless your fucking boyfriend thinks it is. Let me just be very clear here. The joke is out there, and I think it's a hilarious one, with the whole, I have no interest in a threesome because I just couldn't stand to let down two women at the same time. However, if you want to have sex with another woman, if that's the case, it's not usually that hard to kind of one night you're laying in bed and be like, honey, yeah, would you like to have a threesome with another woman? Throw that out there first. Let's just say you toss that. The odds are, right, the guy might be like, well, that's an odd request. I didn't expect to hear that out of you, but who are you thinking about? And of course, they might just be like, no, I'm not comfortable with that. Could be for a number of reasons. Could think it's a trap. Could think you're trying to lure him in to be like, wanting him to make a suggestion so that you can figure out who he thinks is hot. Who knows? But I dare say that you have a better chance as a woman pitching the threesome concept and bringing in another woman than most guys would have pitching the threesome concept to bring in another woman. which seems to be a pretty big trend in pretty big leaning in the domain of straight male sexuality. That's the bring in the shoe on head, two of the thing I like together meme. In any case, moving on. You may be tempted to use it as an escape route from boredom, but it might be a mistake to act hastily. Well, it's the time for not acting hastily is kind of come and gone, but I get what she's trying to say here. Take some time to consider all your feelings, sexual and otherwise, and talk with your friend about how she feels. No. First step, talk to your boyfriend about what you did. Take some personal responsibility for getting drunk and, fucking around with your friend outside of your relationship, and let him be the person who decides how he wants to take that. Because here's the fun fact, and I mentioned this before, is that I had this little odd caveat where when I heard that my girlfriend at the time had an interaction with another guy, that I was more upset with her than I was with him. And some people think, well, why would you feel like that way? Bros before hoes and all this other shit. But, however, that guy did not know me. I'd never met him. I had no interaction with the guy. I have no reason to know whether or not he knew of me. I just don't know. What I do know is that dude was single. And that even if he had have known that she was dating somebody, it would have been a bit of a dick move. Admittedly, dick move. But he doesn't owe me anything. Some basic human courtesy, aside from that, and anyone's really doesn't have to give that. However, she was in a relationship, and she knew that. And she knew she owed her faithfulness to somebody else. In this case, this woman has every reason to know that she owes something to her boyfriend. She does not owe anything to this friend of hers, aside from, of course, this friendship and whatever their terms of that are. But she doesn't, the friend, as it were here, doesn't owe something to the boyfriend. All right? And on the hierarchy of who is owed what, you could drink here. On the hierarchy of who is owed what in this situation, boyfriend trumps friend with whom you had a drunken one-night stand. That may be a little bit traditionalist of me, might be a little bit old-fashioned. However, that's where I sit. That is my position on this sort of topic. This is an opportunity to learn something very important about yourself. Relationship triangles can be complicated and painful, so tread very carefully. Like, at this point, she's effectively encouraging, it's like, yeah, this could be, really complicated. Just be careful with it. Just be hush hush about it. It'll all be fine. No. Full stop. I don't care if you are a psychotherapist who specializes in treating sexual disorders. I don't give a shit. Patron of COSRT. Is this showing up? Thing. There we go. I don't know how much of you guys can see this, but I can't get a real bead on like any proper. But I can't really get any sort of like qualifications on this woman. But yeah, this doctor is essentially advocating that, yeah, you know what, it's fine that you want to do this, it's fine that you want to cheat on your boyfriend, but just keep it quiet, because relationship triangles can be complicated and painful. This is a complete and utter disregard for not only the importance of this relationship to the couple, but also to the emotional and mental well-being of the man involved. Yes, I'm going to go, there's a guy here, but what about the men's? I'm absolutely going to pull this card. Because as I've specified, this bitch owes something to her boyfriend. Basic human decency, if nothing else. If nothing at all else, let's just say that trust and communication isn't supposed to be an understood aspect of their relationship with one another. She owes him some basic decency and should be telling him, hey, honey, this happened. I got drunk with Becky and things just really went sideways and whatnot. Right? There's every chance in the world she might be like, but he might get angry at me and he might break up with me. And yes, he might. There is every chance in the world that your boyfriend will be emotionally hurt and offended by the fact that you would tarnish that relationship, right? And then he might drop your ass. He might just say, no, you know what, we're done. We're done. You make all these excuses. You've always got a goddamn fucking headache. You never want to talk about your issues, why we don't get together in bed anymore. And then you want to go and fuck Becky. Thanks, but no thanks. See yourself the fuck out. Like, if they're cohabitating for this long, they're probably common law married. The fact that she's gone and posted this, I'd be like, look, this is my girlfriend or ex, whatever. We're done here. I ain't giving her shit because she cheated on me. All right. And she thinks it's perfectly fine and didn't even want to bring it to my attention. Like, didn't even want to approach like an adult. This right here is the whole, it's okay if you don't get caught. It's okay if you don't get caught. It's complicated, but it's okay if you don't get caught. Guardian, I'm seriously considering doing a Guardian Award. Just end of the year Guardian Award. Let any of my viewers that I have vote on the most Guardian thing to be published in that year. And by that, I mean, and where the hell is the Guardian? Because the Guardian has this whole more. No. They have, where is it? This whole about us. Let's bring this up here because I found it before. Son of a monkey's uncle. I'm gonna find this. Guardian core values. I know it exists. There we go. And nope, standards, editorial code. No. Because I found this page before, and I've been over it because of Laura Bates. This is the Guardian group. I don't think that is. No. The Guardian core values. Here we are. Let's pop this into the frame. Check with this. All right. Close enough. I normally try to wipe out the ads and shit. Openness. Here we are, folks. Openness, honesty, integrity, courage, and fairness. Openness, honesty, integrity, courage, and fairness. Now, wait. The Guardian's mission. Be open, be digital first, be international, be everywhere, invest in our future, harness the creativity and talent of our people. Be open. Number one, right at the top. A1 thing. Be open. Openness is there again. Let's roll this back. Be open. Where is this here? I avoid sex and make excuses. Is this open? No. Is this honest? No. Does this involve a degree of integrity? No. Does this involve courage? No. Avoiding the issue does not give you courage. And fairness. No, it's not fair to your boyfriend. This woman, now I realize this is not the author, this is the woman, is not going along with any of these 5 core values. However, the writer, Miss, again, Pamela Stevenson Connolly, has every opportunity to encourage said views. And she goes, oh no, it just simply means you were drawn to the erotic inspiration of something taboo. No big deal. Okay. At no point in this does she mention you should tell your boyfriend. That would be being open, honest, having some integrity, a bit of courage, and being fair. Loses it there. tries to conflate the classic examples for taboo subjects, all right, with having an out-and-out affair. That is not honest. That is not showing any integrity, and that is not being fair to the reader. Because, well, I'm sorry, it's also not being very open, because they're not the same thing. They are not connected, and that it would be a false likeness. You're intentionally muddying the waters, if I dare say so. So in any case, I'd like people to find me the Guardian articles, or even just articles in general, anything that is published by, let's just say, a reputable. I claim the Guardian is fairly reputable. They got themselves a Pulitzer Prize somewhere or other. All right, don't be bringing me any Jezebel. I think that's all dead with Gawker and shit. But don't bring me that kind of like Mike level shit. I'll take like Guardian and HuffPo and up. That's about it. And bring me the most Guardian thing you can find. And the more of the Guardian's core values that it destroys, the more of the Guardian's core values that it disobeys and ignores and blatantly acts in defiance of, the better. And I'll sort them all out for the end of the year for a Guardian Award. JT Viper's Guardian Award for we'll come up with some ridiculous name, but it'll be like the JT Viper Guardian Award for absolute obliviousness in journalism, something along those lines. In any case, folks, if you've watched your way through all of this, this has now been almost an hour. We're 8 minutes shy of an hour. If you've watched all of this, please do me a favor. You will see your comments there along in this live chat. However, please do me a favor. Leave a comment down below with your impressions of these articles, with how Miss Pamela Stevenson Connolly is approaching the well-being of her writers and those asking for her help, and how the Guardian is representing themselves to their readers. Yep, so as usual, leave that comment down below. Do the whole thing where you like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you guys next time. Shouldn't be too much longer now. My voice will be ready for a full quality recording of my Oregon citizens arrest thing. I've got the script. I have the script. It's a matter of feeling like I'm not going to destroy my voice to do it, because last check I was in like the 3,500 words section, and it's dry. So thank you all for watching. Have a great day, and I will see you next time.